In this week's space news, we cover NASA testing commercial lunar rovers. In our second story, Axiom Space is working with NASA to simplify the training of private astronauts. Third, we cover Onvada Space as its second mission will be launching shortly. And finally, a small US-based launch provider is preparing to launch its suborbital rocket in 2025, with plans for orbital launches later. Okay, let's get started. New commercial Artemis moon rovers undergo testing at NASA. NASA is gearing up to return to the moon, this time to stay. Although at first it will be expeditionary missions, but eventually they aim to build a lunar base. A crucial component for a sustainable lunar base is the ability to move heavy and bulky equipment like habitats, power generation units, scientific instruments, and astronauts. That's why NASA is purchasing lunar mobility solutions from commercial companies. Instead of purchasing hardware, NASA is buying services. Commercial companies will design, deliver, and maintain the rovers, while NASA pays for their use on an as-needed basis. When not in use by NASA, these companies are free to offer their rovers to other clients. Several US space startups are keen on providing these services to NASA. Recently, the agency completed the first round of testing on 3 Lunar Terrain Vehicles, or LTVs for short, from Intuitive Machines, Lunar Outpost, and Astrolab at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. In late September, each company delivered a mock-up of their vehicle to Johnson. Tests began in October and concluded in December. NASA is using a series of cables, sensors, and electric motors to simulate the Moon's 1/6 gravity. NASA's engineering teams conducted tests where astronauts in suits performed tasks and maneuvers and emergency drills on each rover. These human-in-the-loop tests are invaluable because crew members provide direct feedback on the rover's design, functionality, user interfaces, controls, and highlight potential safety or design issues. NASA's astronauts wear the prototype spacesuits provided by Axiom Space, the contractor NASA selected to develop spacesuits for the Artemis missions. NASA is interested in learning how easy or difficult it is to perform operations and tasks in the LTV mockups while wearing a spacesuit. The crew members conduct tasks outside the rover, such as gathering or storing lunar geology tools, deploying science payloads, and handling cargo equipment, as if they are walking on the moon. NASA also conducted emergency drills, simulating a crew member becoming injured or incapacitated. It's a NASA requirement that a single astronaut can rescue a crew member in the event of an emergency. A demonstration mission is planned later in the decade. In this mission, commercial companies will be required to deliver their vehicle safely to the moon's surface and operate it remotely. We'll keep you updated on these lunar rovers. If you're interested, check out my videos on Lunar Outpost and Astrolab, 2 of the 3 companies awarded contracts by NASA. The third awardee, Intuitive Machines, is developing the Moonracer vehicle, which I'll cover in an upcoming video. Now, let's move on to the second story of this week. Axiom Space working with NASA to simplify private astronaut training. Axiom Space is working with NASA to simplify the training process for private astronauts, aiming to reduce the extensive time currently required before missions to the International Space Station. Typically, astronaut training is lengthy, as each astronaut must achieve NASA-level qualifications. However, for civilians without prior spaceflight experience, this process can be particularly time-consuming for what might only be a 7 or 8 day mission to the ISS. Axiom Space argues that private astronauts do not need the same level of rigorous training as NASA astronauts. Very few high-net-worth individuals are willing to dedicate several months to such intensive training just to participate in a space mission. By simplifying the training regime, Axiom Space hopes to attract more clients, which is crucial given their current financial challenges. NASA is entirely dependent on Axiom Space providing the Artemis spacesuits for lunar missions, so easing the training requirements for Axiom astronauts aligns with NASA's long-term goals. Our third story covers a US company that's developing a re-entry capsule designed to safely deorbit payloads from space. Varda Space's second mission launching soon. This second mission is for the US Space Force. Varda will carry various military payloads, using their W-Series re-entry platform to test these at hypersonic speeds. The spacecraft is built on Rocket Lab's Photon platform, which handles communications, station keeping, and propulsion. Varda has already proven its technology by successfully landing a re-entry capsule in the Utah desert after manufacturing pharmaceuticals in space. However, the process of obtaining a landing license from the FAA for that mission was challenging, resulting in long delays, leaving the spacecraft in orbit for 6 months. For this second mission, Varda has secured a landing license in Australia, where the vast unpopulated areas enable easier approval for such missions. This suggests that Australia might become a preferred landing site for future missions. Finally, we'll explore a small rocket startup located in the northeast of the US. Blue Shift Aerospace hopes to launch its first suborbital rocket soon. Blue Shift Aerospace, a US-based company launching rockets from Maine, New England, is coming close to launching its first suborbital rocket soon. It completed a number of successful engine burns in October 2024 and is now getting ready to attempt the first suborbital launch, probably towards the end of 2025. Blue Shift, according to its CEO Sasha Derry, is looking forward to throwing their hat in the ring in the commercial launch market, providing lower cost propulsion technologies and providing launch opportunities from Maine. Given the geographical location, specifically the high latitude, Maine offers what no other current launch site in the US can: launch directly to the poles, commonly called a polar orbit. It's true SpaceX, from its Vandenberg site, does occasionally do polar orbits, but only using a dogleg maneuver, which is less efficient as fuel is needed to change course when in flight. Their suborbital rocket is named Starless Rogue and will initially launch from Spaceport America rather than Maine. That's because the FAA has not granted a commercial launch license to fly from Maine yet. Blue Shift have applied for a license, but it's unlikely to be granted until 2026. To learn more about Blue Shift Aerospace, I will be uploading a video about them soon. I'll include a link to that video here when it's live. Okay, that's it for this week. Be sure to like and subscribe so you'll see our upcoming videos. We make videos every week covering the space industry, with an emphasis on the smaller space startups that aren't covered so well on other channels. See you soon.